Welcome to Hunter Fuel, a supernatural rewatch podcast for adults who enjoy their show with a chaser. I'm Liz.
And I'm Lynn.
Thanks so much for joining us for season 1, episode 20, Dead Man's Blood. We model responsible drunkenness here. All participants are way over 21. No one is pregnant. No one will be driving, operating heavy machinery, uh, playing with firearms, or breaking into funeral homes. If you're playing along with us, those are the rules. If you decide not to follow them and you do something stupid, don't blame us. Lynn, what are you drinking this evening?
Well, as we were talking about off camera, I pre-gamed. It's been a day. So I'm continuing with that. I'm having a good old glass of wine.
You know, wine is not a bad choice. I may have accidentally pre-gamed just a smidge myself,
No,
but the
you
featured
accidentally
cocktail.
pre-gamed.
See, the featured cocktail for this episode is a vampire's kiss. It is 2 ounces of raspberry vodka, 2 ounces of Chambord, and 3 ounces of cranberry juice. Shake that all up with some ice and strain and serve. Wizard Dave, can you bring up our supernatural game cards for us, please? I gotta be honest, I was taking a look at mine and I don't have a high degree of confidence in mine, which may have contributed to my accidental pregame.
I have I have very little confidence in mine.
All right, well, as always, the first one is on the house. Oh, cheers.
Cheers. Of course, when we don't have a whole lot of faith in the cards, then we just get creative.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Well, and I gotta say, I've been noticing an inverse relationship between how much I enjoy the cocktail and how good the cards are. So if I despise the cocktail, I have a lot of squares, and when I enjoy it, I get like none. So this cocktail's pretty good, I gotta say. So that just adds to my feeling of dread. So let me ask you this, Lynn. Do you have either a summoning ritual or an electronics flicker? Because we owe you a couple of squares
I
here.
have an electronics flicker,
Okay, give yourself that square. How about a summoning?
uh, and I do have a summoning ritual.
Oh, you are off and running. So give yourself both of those squares. That is
So,
fantastic. And then
cheers.
before we get started, there's some behind the scenes trivia for this episode. While they were filming, they had to shut down for a couple of hours because a um, a few let's say overzealous tourists reported to the police that they saw a sniper in the park while they were filming this episode. They called J Squared and said, look, guys, stay in your trailers. Don't come to set. There's somebody with a gun in the park. And it took some time before the police to investigate and realize that it was a member of the crew carrying some equipment in a case.
I love that story.
I know. So then they were like, okay, all clear. We can keep filming now.
Well, it shows how real the props look.
Well, or at least sorry, I have completely lost my ability to pour and I just like just poured that like all over everything. It's in a little tray, which is good, but um yeah, this is going to be a great night, folks.
Or a
So,
really good night. It all depends on your perspective.
well, we're going to watch some Supernatural, so this night is about to get a little better. So with that, we're going to get this show on the road. So the previously on segment focuses really heavily on the complicated relationship, particularly between Sam and John. So we see a lot of clips from Asylum and Bugs with reminders that Sam and John fought a whole lot. And then we also have some clips from Shadow where the boys are finally reunited with John, only to decide that they need to split up again for everyone's safety. Um, we've got some fun shots here of, and this was something that had come up in Bugs, that because they had that fight and Sam left to go off to school, that he wasn't sure if John was even going to be happy to see him again. So we're picking up here in Manning, Colorado, present day, and we've got this extreme close-up of a hunter's journal. But this is not John's journal. This is a different hunter's. Um, we hear the bartender call him Mr. Elkins. Terrence Kelly plays Daniel Elkins. He played General West in The Watchmen alongside Jeffrey Dean Morgan, among just a ton of other roles going back to the 60s. Um, so he's kind of scribbling away in this journal of his, and there's another bar patron who's saying like that guy's a little weird. And the bartender says, "Oh, he's harmless. He lives by himself up in the canyon." And then as she's pouring him a drink, this crowd of people come in. There's four of them, and you can tell right
Yeah.
away that they are up to no good.
And just the
Um,
look on his face is just like, oh shit.
oh yeah, he's clocked them right away that they are trouble. The bartender's asking them, what do they want? She says there's a woman and three men, and she says, well, Jack all around. The bartender asks if they're hungry. She's like, "Oh, we have dinner plans." And then the bottle with the bar,
But now look at the bottle she actually grabbed. She says
it's not
Jack.
Jack.
No, it's not Jack that she grabs.
Not Jack. Terrible bartender. Talk to Mr. Elkins, who is now, he's clearly hauling ass. Like he's in his truck. He's driven, clearly as quickly as he can to get back to his cabin. He's rushing to get inside. He's looking to make sure he wasn't followed. Like he's clearly concerned about these folks. Um,
Yep.
Gets in and he immediately realizes, like, as fast as he drove, there's this chick from the bar, and she's right there. She spotted him. And we can tell she's got this eye shine flash.
Yep.
So we know right away, whatever she is, she's not human.
Yeah.
He stabs her in the middle of the chest, and it doesn't even slow her down. Um, and I
Well, I
think
was
this
gonna
is
say we
kind
could kind of tell by the speed she got there that she was not human. It's like
oh yeah,
no,
absolutely. Absolutely. So
nothing.
we don't know.
No one of human speed could feasibly get there that fast.
Yeah, no, agreed. Unless she's from the future and she's got a teleporter. Um,
Yeah. So
so
now we
he's
see the
locked him.
cult.
We see the Colt for the first time, right? So he's got this antique gun, and it's in this really beautiful wooden case. As he's loading it, and you have to kind of take it apart to load it, which is interesting. The other two people she was in the bar with break through the skylights. She picks up the gun, so she's intrigued by it, and it is beautiful. It's got some gorgeous engravings and stuff on it.
Yeah, and
Um,
unfortunately, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it has a wonderful insignia in Latin, which Liz,
yes.
I'm sure you know what that is off the
It,
top of your head.
well, considering the fact that I have plans to have it tattooed onto my body, yes, I do. I know exactly what it is.
Okay, because yes, I was like, I if she, I could, I am not surprised by that.
No, and this came up. We got a good look at it the last time. Well, actually, no, that's not true. We're going to get a good look at it this time. So this is a wacky diner. We're going to
Yes.
hold off on checking our cards just for a second, but they're looking for cases. Um, and so yeah, we're gonna talk about what's inscribed on the colt in just a moment. Um, but before we get to the diner, we see that whatever these creatures are, they have taken out poor Mr. Elkins. So we're not going to see any more of Mr. Elkins, unfortunately. We also get a dude here while they're in the diner, and as they're going through, Sam is online and he spots this article about a Daniel Elkins being killed inside a locked room. They think it's some kind of bear attack that he was kind of savagely torn apart by whatever killed him. Um, so the name sparks a memory for Dean. He gets John's journal out, and it's
But
actually
now,
spelled wrong here.
interestingly, if you look at
Yeah,
the journal,
yep,
this is considered an oops because the
it is.
journal can says D Elkin, not
It
Elkins.
does. It does. It is spelled incorrectly in the journal. Um, so okay, I'm gonna pause it here because we've just watched Sam pick a lock. So yeah,
Okay.
as Lynn said, it's spelled incorrectly in the journal, but the reason why they take this case as opposed to the others that were prospects is because they're pretty sure, it was a Colorado error code. So they're pretty sure that a name that's in dad's journal is
Yeah.
like a person who's in that journal has been killed under mysterious circumstances. So that's why they're
Yes.
checking that out. Okay, so while it is paused, let's take a look at our cards here. So we're looking for a wacky diner, a dude. We also heard we got a lot of work to do because Dean was suggesting that they go back to upstate New York to check on Miss Sarah from the last episode.
Yeah.
And Sam says, no, we've got a lot of work to do. No. And we've got Sam picks a lock. So we're looking for a wacky diner,
Oh, I do have
dude.
someone picks a lock.
Okay, excellent.
And that's it.
Yeah, and I'm actually, oh, I have someone picks a lock. And yeah, I am in the same boat. That is the only one I have of those four.
I'm
So,
like, seriously, I always have the wacky diner.
no, we don't have a seriously.
No, no, no. I'm saying it because I actually do. I have that. I'm like saying it as a figure of speech for myself. I know we
I know.
don't have it.
Well, for the one that we did have, I'm gonna not be stingy because I don't know how many we're gonna get. So, cheers.
That is funny though that is on one that is on bingo cards. So like we can't even use it as a figure of speech because then it's like no, no, that's not the way I meant it.
Well, you can. We'll just giggle over it. So, okay. So we're
Okay.
hitting play. The boys are breaking into Mr. Elkin's cabin in the woods. They're starting to look around. And something that I really love about this scene is pretty quickly they start to realize that Daniel Elkins is a hunter. Like they get into the
Yep.
office, the there's a monster board. He's poured a salt line in front of the door. We get this fun line like Sam says, if we've got salt here, and Dean is like, oops, I spilled the popcorn salt, or
I love that line. That's my favorite line.
yeah, no, that's it's like no, this is a definitively a salt line, and they start noticing. Dean finds Daniel Elkin's journal. He's like, oh, this dude was a hunter. Um, so as they're going through, they realize, oh, the dates in here go back to the 60s. So this guy was a hunter 20 years before John. We cut to the outside and there's somebody in the trees, and we can see the flashlights moving around in the house. So there's somebody in the trees watching the boys go through go through the house. we see the aftermath of this attack on Daniel Elkins. The place is
Hmm.
just destroyed.
Trashed.
It's absolutely thrashed. Dean notices the case that the gun was in. It's empty at this point, so the gun and the bullets are gone. But we get a good look at that. I love the way this is lit with like there's sort of very little light on the boys. It's just the flashlights reflecting off of whatever it is that they're looking at.
Hmm.
Um, and Dean notices some scratches on the floor, and this cracks me up every
Yeah.
time. Like, so there's like this guy put up a fight. There's a lot of blood on the floor. So Dean grabs a piece of paper and a pencil and he uses the blood on the floor to make the paper stick down so it doesn't slide
I
around.
know. The fact that this works, it's like, really, dude, you had the wherewithal with your fingernails while you were getting murdered to scratch out numbers, and that actually worked. Like,
Worked.
seriously?
It was in the script. It was in the script. It's now you're right. This is an exaggeration, right? But
Hmm.
it's kind of not eh, crazy that a seasoned hunter would be trying to leave some clues. Um, this is probably, improbable, but it's not surprising that he would make the attempt. So they recognize that the numbers are a post office box. They go there, and there's a letter in the box with JW on it.
Yeah.
I love it. So they're trying to decide, do
John
they
is
open it?
just scared the crap out of his son. That cracks me up.
Yeah. Here comes John. He pounds on the window. Now, when he pounds on the window, it's closed. He scares the crap out of Dean. But then the next thing you see is that the window is sort of halfway down, and so we don't see Dean wind the window down in the meantime. Uh,
He was real quick.
okay, pause it. I'm sorry, Sadie. Oh, he was very fast. Yes, with the one. Sorry. Uh,
He
so
was very quick with the window.
he's. Oh, we have a
Oh,
question from Wizard Dave. I'm gonna pause this because we're about to get a son of a bitch here. But and there's something else I wanted to do while we were paused. So we'll do a couple things here. I tend to say no, like I want to see someone actually pour it. I think it's a legitimate question.
I
Lynn,
say
what do you think?
I'm with you, Liz, on that one. Like,
Okay.
to me, if it's pour a salt line, someone should be pouring said salt line.
All right. So it's a perfect question. And now if you're playing along and you have somebody pours a salt line on your card and you decide that it counts, I can't stop you.
No, that let's be honest. When the cards have been really stingy, we've been
See,
known,
we see
we've been known to say fuck
we
it.
we may decide at the end of this that we're gonna change our minds. So let's see where we land. So while we have it paused, so John is about to open this link from Daniel Elkins, and there is a copy of it in the sorry, my bookmark doesn't want to come out. There we go. In the official companion volume for the season. And it reads, John, if you are reading this, I'm already dead. I don't know who's more stubborn between us, but well, you know, if it's oh, sorry, it's a damn shame. It's one of those fonts that makes it look like handwriting and just makes it difficult to read. It's a damn
Hmm.
shame to have to say goodbye this way. But Lynn, what are you doing?
I was trying to switch screens and it wasn't letting me do that. And
Here's what it looked
I
like.
kind yeah, no, I kind of forgot the camera was there. No, I was just trying to see your smiling face and it wasn't working that way.
Here it is. Here's my smiling face.
But yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was trying to do.
Okay. But if you know the truth of it, you'd probably have killed me yourself. You see, old friend, I've got the Colt. Least I had it. Can't rightly say who or what might have it now. Check my safe. The combination's one you can remember. It's 3, 8 to 11. If it ain't there, just follow the trail of my blood. I really do pray you get the gun and put a silver bullet right between that bastard's yellow eyes. Uh, Dan. So 38211 it's the number, it's the date of Mary's death reversed because she was killed on November 2nd, 1983. So it's 38211. That's just backwards. So that's what that is. All right.
I was
Well,
going to say excellent, but that's not really appropriate for that.
I know, like although we wouldn't have a show if Mary hadn't died, so
True.
Okay, so I've hit play here. We're in the car, and he starts to say, John starts to say that he and Daniel Elkins had a bit of a falling out, and they hadn't spoken in years. Um, and spoiler alert, that's something of a recurring theme. Dean seems to, or yeah, let's try that again. Although it's not, it's not that wrong. John seems to have a lot of falling outs, with folks. All right. So
Well, it
he's
seems to
going to
very much
say
be John's way or the highway.
yeah, that is really how he rolls, and we're going to see a lot of that this episode. He does say "son of a bitch," which we're going to hold off on checking the cards just for a moment because we have another one coming up in a moment. But John starts to say he thinks what killed Daniel Elkins was the thing that Daniel Elkins killed best, and that was vampires. And Dean goes, "Vampires? There's no such thing." John says, "Well, they were extinct. Like I thought Elkins and the others had wiped them out. Um, but no, not so much. Here they are running around causing trouble. We've got a lore. Uh, because John starts to tell them that that most vampire lore is just absolute crap. And we saw the female wearing like an enormous cross. So clearly, crosses don't bother them, and um
Ah, I'm trying to pause it, and my mouse is not playing nice with me.
yeah, this is a good spot to pause it. Here, I'll do it. Got it?
Well, hold on. I was trying to go back slightly, so hold on.
Okay.
Hang with me a minute here while I try to get it where I actually wanted it. And
En-
let's see if I can
Entertain
actually
yourself,
get it.
folks.
Yeah. Give me literally about 10 seconds here.
All right.
Ah, hold on. I
Oh,
promise you.
you're
Yes.
trying to pause
Okay.
it on this guy. There we go.
Yes. So yeah, so for those of you who happen to be a General Hospital fan, I mean I'm sure he's been in other things, but this is Dominique Zampraja, and I may be completely mispronouncing this because I'm notorious for that.
If I
But
had to guess,
he actually,
if I had to guess, I would say Dominic Zampronia, only because of Bologna. But
yeah,
and
and I
he,
was going to say, you said it that way the last time and I agreed with you, and then I'm mispronouncing it again. So,
no
again,
worries,
I'm
no worries.
notorious for
What do you
mispronouncing.
mean? We haven't done this before.
No, never. Well, no, I had said it to you in the past. I never said
Oh
on
yeah,
camera.
that, that's totally true.
Yes. So, until I believe actually he just stopped playing Dante Falconeri, but he played Dante Falconeri for like I want to say like 20 or 30 years. Like he has played Dante Falconeri since
1,500 episodes.
yeah, it's some ridiculous number of years. I mean, I used to watch General Hospital some like 20, 30 years ago. Yes, I'm aging myself. But yeah, I
Just a number.
loved watching him on General Hospital.
Yeah,
he was fantastic, and he just recently left the show. Like, and I mean, like in the last month, just
yeah.
recently left the show.
something in the neighborhood of 1,500 episodes of General Hospital. And then he was in where I recognize him from is Battlestar Galactica. He had a small role
Okay.
there. And then he was 4 seasons of a show called Edgemont, which
Okay.
obviously I was not a huge fan of. But so while we have it paused, we need we're looking on our cards for a son of a bitch and a lore. So
Oh,
let's take a look here. And if memory
hold
serves,
on.
I
I'm
do
trying to pull
not
my
have
card back up,
either.
and my tablet is
Oh,
not playing nice with me.
we're
So
having
don't mind me
technical
as I'm not
difficulties
looking
today.
anywhere near the camera right now.
That's fine. Yeah, no,
Uh,
I have neither. I have neither of those. So hopefully,
son of a bitch or a lure, because while I was
oh,
trying to get my iPad to play nice, I kept saying son of a bitch as I was trying to get it to switch screens. I was like, come on, you
yeah,
son of a
no,
bitch.
nope, nope, nope. And
Nope,
honestly,
I have neither.
I have neither. Out of curiosity, do you have someone pours a salt line?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so if we decide we're gonna cheat,
Yeah.
we both
So
have that
yes.
one. We may decide later we're gonna cheat. Okay, so before we hit play, so Eric Kripke had been really hesitant to include vampires in Supernatural because
Which I was
he
very
felt
happy about.
I know you are not a fan of some you like some, but not a lot of vampire stuff.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Um,
I don't. I like bugs. I don't do bugs well. I don't do vampires well. There are certain things that I have nothing against the people who play vampires. I just things biting people. No, no,
yep,
no, 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 no.
I get it. I get it. You know, and I mean, now we watched quite a bit of Twilight, but they are not real vampires, so they sort of don't count. Uh,
Yeah, I was gonna say for some reason it's funny though. The very first Twilight I struggled with because that was the goriest one.
yeah,
And I clearly remember, I can't remember whether it was the second one or the third one. I genuinely enjoyed it. That actually freaking gave me nightmares. I was like, are you fucking kidding with me
they
that gave
sparkle.
me. Yeah, I was like, really? So yeah, that just tells you how much I cannot deal with this bullshit.
I will admit the sparkly vampires are sort of terrifying, but not for the reason that they intended to terrify.
I know
Um,
because they're so ridiculous.
I don't, but I was a big fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer
Yeah.
for that run, and so Kripke felt like they had kind of cornered the market on vampires, and he wanted to make it really clear that Supernatural was not a Buffy knockoff. Um, but the fans had started to say like where are the vampires? Like this is a supernatural universe. There's going to be vampires, right? So this is the last monster of the week episode we're going to have of the season. And he's like, okay, for the last one, the fans have been asking, we'll go ahead and tackle them. And they felt like they had established their own identity enough that, now it was okay to kind of bring them in. But they do have their own lore, which we're going to find out more, as this episode goes. So I'm going to hit play here, and what we see is we now have Christine Chatelaine who plays Jenny. She's in the passenger seat. I don't know what the actor in the driver's seat in the terrible shirt. I don't know what his
Yeah.
name is, but that's okay because he's not going to be in it for very long.
I
Um,
was gonna say they are about to have a very bad evening.
we kind of don't need to know what his name is. But they poor actor, it's not that he did a bad job. He's a red shirt, unfortunately, for him. But so this is a game that the vampires play. Like this is how they hunt, that they pretend to be injured humans, and when somebody stops to check on them, then they attack. And we saw that, so they don't have fangs, they have this set of teeth that descends. We have a quirky motel room here, so we're gonna go back and check on that in a minute. But the boys are sleeping. John is listening to some kind of police scanner, and he gets a call from 911 that they found a body. But when the police arrived, there was nothing there. John is convinced this is the work of the vampires. Um, and he's like, follow me. And like, why? Just follow me. So it's already kind of starting that he's just issuing orders expecting them to be followed, and Sam is already starting to champ at the bit here that he's not interested. um they show up at the crime scene. Again, this fight kind of continues. Tensions are starting to rise between John and Sam, and John shows the boys what Dean identifies as being a vampire fang, and John says, "No,
Yeah.
it's not a fang; it's a second set of teeth." And so this is something that we're going to see throughout the series. It's a way for them to identify vampires. Um,
Now I love how you really see Sam kind of, I hate to say grow a set, but I love how he holds his own with his dad. It's like with the questions and all that, not just
mhm.
sort of taking everything at face value, but like, how do you know this? Like really questioning everything and being, and I know I'm repeating myself, but I hope you know where I'm going with that.
I do, and I've paused it here because we need to check our cards because now Sam is driving baby.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is something. This is a history between the two of them that Sam always questions John. And I don't want to say too much about it here because there's going to be a place. Um, Forgive me, I don't remember if it's this episode. I think it's a later episode where it's going to come up more. Um, but yeah, like Dean has followed orders. It's what we saw in
Yeah.
Asylum, right? And Sam is the one that challenges. And you can see that it like Dean is willing to and Sam even challenges him here. He's like, you're just gonna fall into line. And Dean says, if that's what it takes, it was what Dean wants is his family together. And if
Yep.
him kind of taking a back seat and letting John run the show is what it takes to keep his family together, then that's what he'll do. Um, Okay, so let's check our cards here. So we are looking for a quirky motel room and a Sam drives baby.
I
Let's
have
see.
Sam drives baby. I do not have a quirky motel room.
Well, and I don't have either.
Well,
But
you
you know
can't let
what?
your sister drink alone.
I cannot. That would just be rude. So,
Correct.
congratulations on your square, my sister.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I have my
It
lonely little
really
two
is true
squares
that
now.
the how much you like the drink correlates with how many squares you get.
It does seem to be. Okay, hitting play. Uh, so the boys are kind of talking this through, and Dean is saying, like, we've been looking for the guy for a year. We finally hunting together, and they're static already. Like, do you remember when we said static?
Oh, God. It's been a long time.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. Um, and we can see that like Sam is really just he's he's already frustrated. Like it's like
Yeah.
every time we try to get together, and I've talked about this before, that sociologically, three is a very unstable number because you almost always end up with two against one. And we're going to see something really interesting in this episode because historically, the two against one has always been Dean and John against Sam. That Sam has always been the odd man out. Now this scene here, so we've cut to the barn. Here are the vampires. They're partying in the barn. Now, if you're if you're watching this on Netflix, the song that you're not hearing here is "The Strange Face of Love" by Tito and Tarantula. The song was featured in the soundtrack for the 1996 vampire film From Dusk Till Dawn. So it's kind of fun that they've picked a song from a vampire
Okay.
movie to play,
Yeah.
for the vampires to dance to. So this is kind of
Yeah.
wacky here where we've got, so we're starting to get names for people. So the girl vampire, the lady vampire, she's wearing this giant cross because, crosses have no impact on them.
Of course.
This actor you pointed out before, Dominic, he's trying to get them to drink alcohol because then he'll be able to taste it in their blood. We get this kind of villain shot of the doors opening, and here comes Luther. So this actor
Yeah.
is Warren Christie. He did now. Did you recognize him, Lynn?
I
Because he's in
feel
one
like
of
I
your
should,
Chicago
but
shows.
oh,
He's in Chicago Fire.
he
Now
is?
for all he is now he might not have been in more than one or two episodes, but entertainingly enough, he was back in 2003, he had a role in an unaired series called Still Life alongside Jensen. Um, so Jensen and Warren Christie were in the same show together. They shot like 6 episodes and it never aired.
Oh,
Um, you can find the pilot on YouTube. I will warn you, it's a copy of a copy of a bootleg copy of a pirated VHS tape. So
so it's horrible, is what you're saying.
quality is not good, not good. But Marina Baccarin is in it. So if you're curious and you want to watch that, you can find it on YouTube. It's called Still Life. So what's interesting here is, so first off, Luther has decided he likes the looks of Jenny. Red shirt boyfriend, not so much. So the red shirt
Yeah.
boyfriend has been dinner. They've had him for dinner. And
Yeah.
so Kate starts showing him the things that they collected from Daniel Elkin's place, including the gun.
Yeah.
And he
But
says,
but
"Oh,
in, but
this is
initially
no,
he is not happy that they
no,
did all of this because
no, no, he's really not. He's like, because again, hunters have wiped out.
yeah.
We've got a baby's tire squeal here.
Yep.
So actually, I'm going to hit pause here because we're going to check our cards for the baby's tire squeal. Um, but vampires have been hunted to what John believed was extinction. And so
Yep. So
Luther is
they've been
saying
trying to lay low.
they're trying to lay low. Like he's trying to keep the lingo in Supernatural is nest. He's trying to keep his nest alive. Um, Undead. What passes for alive for them? And
Yeah.
there's this great line where he says, because she's saying like I thought this would make you happy, like we took him out, and he says revenge isn't worth much if you end up dead,
Yep.
which is something we're going to see in the next couple of episodes between here and the end of the season that the Winchesters wrestle with. So it's kind of interesting to hear that line come out of the mouth of a monster. um, Okay, so
Yep.
we need to check our cards for a baby's tires squeal. Let's see if either one of us have that. I
Usually
don't believe.
I do, and I don't.
Oh, I do. I has one.
Yay!
Yippee! Go me. Go me. Go, go, go
Go,
me.
go, you. All right, cheers. Because
Go
I
me.
can't let you drink alone either.
Hmm, that would be rude.
Yes, it would be very rude.
Okay. Three whole squares. Okay.
Wow, you're on a roll.
Brace yourselves, folks. Okay, so I'm hitting play here, and what we've just seen is now okay. Sam has had it. That John has given them some instructions, and Dean is like, "Pull over." Why? Because Dad says so. So Sam has had it. We've got this big blow up here between Sam and John, and Dean is like, Come on, guys, we don't have to fight." He's trying to calm everything down. And I love the body language here, where, again, it's historically, it's always been Dean and John against Sam. And here, Dean breaks up the fight.
But then
There, Sam's,
John
of
goes
course,
right back into it.
right back into it. And Sam is throwing in his face like, "You're the one who told me if I left not to come back." And Dean physically gets in between them, and the way he positions himself with his back to Sam facing John says that the dynamics have shifted, that after a year of just Sam and Dean on the road, now it's Sam and Dean against John. That here, the way that he positions himself to protect his brother from their father, like, just I love the blocking of that scene and the body language. I think it's fantastic. Cut back to the vampires. We've got, so Jenny here is still alive, and Luther has decided he wants to adopt Jenny. Um, so the scene is the scene is kind of interesting here, where we see, and John says this. He'll say it a little later in this episode, that vampires mate for life. That
Yes.
Kate and Luther have a bond as long as they both shall be dead.
Yes.
Um, but it's not necessarily an exclusive monogamous relationship. Um, and so they've decided they're going to adopt. So what they do? So Luther cuts Kate's arm. She takes some of the blood into her mouth, and then she kisses Jenny to get her blood into Jenny's mouth. So traditional vampire lore is you have to consume a vampire's blood to be infected, but typically you have to be drained of blood yourself, and they
Yeah.
don't do that here. Um, so I see you've paused it. Go ahead.
Not no, not intentionally. My mouse decided to
Oh,
all of a sudden my screen changed and I was just trying to get back
yes.
onto where I was supposed to be.
Okay, well, I'm gonna hit play then.
Yes,
So it's
please
kind
do.
of fun. So we come back to so here comes Bo, and Bo is in this kind of beat up Chevelle, and I'm just gonna drop that there. There we may see that beat up Chevelle again later.
But this is
But
when we discover that vampires can be out in sunlight.
they
Like it does
can,
not instantly kill them like
yeah.
we initially thought. And it turns out that it just hurts them like a sunburn. It's like, oh, that's new.
Yeah, yeah. So in the supernatural universe, like it's not comfortable for them. They don't prefer it. They are nocturnal, but yeah, it doesn't they don't go poof. Um,
This is my favorite line.
Go ahead.
I love when they're like, "So, Dad, do you need a knife?" And he brings out that mother of a knife. And they're like, "Okay, never mind, Dad. We we'll just keep going." So, yeah, sorry, I had paused that for a moment because that is one of my favorite moments of this episode. Is just that the showing of John's knife, and Dean like, okay, apparently you've got everything covered.
Yeah, it's got this covered. Well, and it is kind of fun that it,
I and
so
I and I and I've hit play again.
you have, so John has this very organized, very fancy, like, kind of, organized. He's also got a Jerusalem cross, which we last saw in Hookman, which is the kind of equiform cross with the little crosses in the quadrants. Everything's in like a nice foam uh thing, it's all very fun. So John is starting to realize, like, okay, his sons need a little more information. He can't just lay out orders and not give them any additional information. So he starts to give them the backstory on the cult. We get this really fun kind of close up of the colt, and what's inscribed on the barrel is non timebo mala, which is Latin from Psalm 23. It translates to "I will fear no evil." Um, and this is kind of a fun gun here. Kripke had said that the Colt didn't exist until the winter hiatus, when he was thinking that, they've got Luke Skywalker, who is Sam, they have Han Solo, who is Dean, but they didn't have a lightsaber. That they needed a magical weapon that they could use to kill the bad guy at the end of the season, but since they didn't want a magic sword, because it kind of doesn't make sense in the world of Supernatural. So they decided to make it a cowboy gun. Um, uh, we've got so this is really the first good look we have of the Colt, and that's going to be pretty important for the end of the season and beyond.
Yes.
So now they've broken in, and their intention is to tiptoe past the sleeping vampires, who, again, unlike traditional lore, they're not like dead until, you know, evening. That they're just asleep. Um, and they also have, from reading Daniel Elkin's journal, they understand that it's common for vampires to kidnap humans and keep them alive for a period of time to feed off of them. And so that they've kind of split up at this point, where Sam and Dean are going to look for hostages while John is going after the cult. And John
And
is really
fortunately for them, they're fairly solid sleepers, because they're not, because they're knocking into them. They're not, they're quiet, but they're not like
that quiet.
that
They're really
quiet,
not.
and yet these guys are still out
Me,
cold,
me, me,
which
me, me,
is
me, 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 me.
pretty
Me, 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 me,
freaking,
me.
which is kind of impressive.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
like
they're pretty solidly asleep. Particularly once Dean starts to break open these cages, and now we know Dean can pick a lock, but no, he's not going to pick the lock. He's going to take like a big metal thing and rip the hinges out.
yeah,
I'm not
it's
being that
like,
quiet.
yeah, it's like, come, and supposedly their hearing is pretty damn good, yet,
Apparently not.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
no, apparently not, because I
yeah.
realize it's written in the script, but still.
It is in the script, but yeah, we're gonna let that go. We're just gonna suspend disbelief. Now we do have a meta moment here because Dean says the word supernatural, and we have
Yeah,
decided that that is a meta moment. Before we pause it, though, I do think it's interesting that, like, John is singularly focused on the gun, and his fingertips are like millimeters away when the Jenny wakes up and she starts screaming because now she's turned into a vampire, so she's
yeah,
calling for her family. John gets thrown against a wall,
yeah,
and everybody runs for it. The boys get back out, and there's no sign of John at first. They're a little concerned, but he's not too far behind them. So the Winchesters all made it out, and John says, once a vampire gets your scent, it's for life. So we need to find the nearest funeral home. And Dean goes, so, okay, so we're going to pause it here. We are looking for on our Stupornatural game cards, we are looking for a meta moment and someone gets thrown against a wall.
So I have a
Um,
meta moment.
oh, that is fantastic. Grab that.
Yep.
Um,
And let's see, do I
oh,
have some?
you know what? I think we had a Sammy earlier. I did not grab. Let me double check quickly here. I think, yes, we did have a Sammy earlier that I had not grabbed. So I'm going to get that now.
Okay, I have a
Oh,
Sammy too.
so we have a Sammy, and I do also have a fourth wall break, and then that is what I have, and I do
Let's
not
say I'm
have.
trying to see if someone gets thrown against a wall, and I don't
I
believe
no, I
I
don't
don't believe I
either.
do.
I don't. Well, I'm doing better than I thought I would, but cheers.
Cheers.
All right, how about that? Double checking. Okay, so I'm hitting play here, and so here we have Sam and John are in the
Mhm.
little motel room slash, whatever it is that they have rented. I think it's really interesting here. We get a good look at it's been 23 years since Mary died. John is
Mhm.
still wearing his wedding ring.
I,
Um,
I I think that's awesome.
I think it's interesting, and I think it shows us that John, and this is going to come up later in the series. Sam is going to say, Dad didn't live like a monk, but it's like he is laser focused on finding the thing that killed his wife. That it's been 23 years and that's all he cares about.
Mhm.
So I do think that that's an interesting detail that they still have John wearing his wedding band. And I love this conversation here
Yeah.
between Sam and John. I think this is so beautiful, and particularly where John starts to finally kind of open up a little bit, and he's saying that, I this is never the life that I wanted for you. Like I think, back in 1983, if you had told John that it would take more than 2 decades to find the thing that killed his wife, like he never would have believed that.
Yeah.
He's saying, I wanted you to go to school. I set up college funds for you and your brother. Um, and he finally starts to acknowledge that, he wasn't mad at Sam for leaving the family. He was worried, like he was afraid for his son because he realized that like evil was everywhere and his son was going to be alone at
Yeah.
school without backup, that he was scared. Which
I
is
just
something that we're go ahead.
I love watching Sam's facial expressions because it's a complete the two of them, their relationship does a 180
Yeah,
in this scene. Like you can
I
see,
agree.
like I mean, I know I've mentioned this dozens and dozens and dozens of times, but the facial expressions that you see on their two faces, just like you can just see Sam's facial expression and just realize that holy crap, Dad did everything he could. There was so much more to the story than I ever realized.
Yeah,
And like that 2 minutes, for lack of a better way of saying it, did more to heal that relationship
yeah,
than I think anything could have. Like John healed that relationship with his son with one conversation.
I don't disagree with you. And now I've paused it because I do want to take a second, and I think you bring up a couple of things that I 100% agree with. One is I think we see some beautiful performances from Jared and from Jeffrey Dean Morgan here.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that and John sorry, Sam makes the comment you know that we have more in common than anybody else. Like you know, so we've got Sam who always felt like the odd man out, realizing that you know he and his dad you know like they've suffered similar losses,
Yes.
and he starts to understand that oh, this is not the life that John wanted from him, and John is more open here than I think that the boys are accustomed to seeing him be. And he says somewhere along the line, I stopped being your father and I became your drill sergeant. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that like the dynamics here between the three Winchesters are shifting really radically. And I think part of it is because of Dean that you know when the son John could always count on to just kind of fall like Sam has all he and Sam have always butted heads. When the
Mm-hmm.
son who he never had a disagreement with is suddenly not taking his side, I think that you know we start to see this really kind of radical shift in the relationship between the three boys. Now, nothing is,
Yeah.
which again is something that I really love about Supernatural, that things don't get. It's not Leave It to Beaver, right? Things don't get
No.
tidily resolved in 42 minutes. Like
No.
this moment doesn't magically fix the family, but we do start to see some shifts in
Yeah.
the dynamics in the family, and I agree with you. I think it's a really beautiful moment.
Now, and I love how, and of course, in true Winchester dynamic, the way they end the conversation is, so what did happen with that college fund? Oh, I spent it on ammo.
Animal.
And Sam just cracks up laughing.
Yeah, like yeah, that tracks. That's on brand. All right, so I'm hitting play. Dean has come back from the funeral home. He makes a joke about there being kind of a surprising amount of security for watching a bunch of dead guys. And he pulls this big old school bottle of blood out. Um, so they have some kind of plan here. We don't exactly know what the plan is. But there's this kind of wacky scene where we immediately cut from this close up of this old school glass bottle of blood to Dean on the side of the road. He's pretending there's something wrong with the car. And here comes Kate. And she starts flirting with him, like, why don't you come back to my place? And next thing you know, she clocks him she, so we can see that vampires in this universe are physically stronger than people. Like Dean is not a small person, and she
No.
just picks him up by the jaw.
But I love the line he says of, yeah, I draw the line at necrophilia.
Yeah, yeah. So like, there's this kind of dangerous flirting going on, and she's forcibly kissing him, which he's not a fan
No.
of, and he's saying like, yeah, I don't stay with chicks that long. Next thing you see, both vampires get shot through the chest with arrows, and sort of like when Daniel Elkins stabbed her before, and she's like, really? All you're doing is putting a hole in my shirt. And John says, dead man's blood. I'm like,
And
oh, that's a poison for you. So she starts to collapse. And then, so this is something, and this is where obviously the episode gets its title from that dead man's. And so we've got a gratuitous blood
blood
spatter.
splatter.
So I'm going to pause it while we check our cards here. Um, but dead man's blood is toxic, which is actually kind of a traditional part of the vampire lore. It's something we see it like in Anne Rice with Interview with the Vampire. We see that as well. So we are looking for a gratuitous blood spatter, and I have a gratuitous blood spatter, and that makes me happy.
If I do not.
I have a little vampire's kiss waiting for me.
And that is oddly appropriate in that moment.
It's almost like I had a plan. Okay.
But just
So
on
they
that particular square, that's comical.
so they've loaded up Kate, and John is telling them that there's this combination of stuff they can burn that's very stinky and it will mask their scent from the vampires. So they've got this plan that while Kate is knocked out, John is going to trade Kate for the Colt while the boys go after the hostages. And Sam is saying like, well, but we're gonna get together and go after the yellow-eyed demon, right? Right?
Right?
That's the
Yeah,
plan, right, Dad?
that look tells me something very different.
Agreed. Agreed. And John starts saying, "You're my children. I'm going to keep you safe." And I love this interaction here where Dean says, like, all due respect, that's a bunch of crap. And the camera immediately cuts to Sam, who's like, Sam is not used to Dean challenging John. And his reaction is like, you and what have you done with my brother?
I was like, I'm loving it.
Oh, I
I'm
do. This is a great scene. And I love how it ends up with, John says the magic words, right? He says that's an order. And this has, for the last 2 decades, these have been the magic words that he says this is an order, and Dean in particular just falls into line. And that's not what's going to happen this time. So Dean kind of continues to challenge John. And he's just saying, like, we should stay together. We are stronger as a family. Um, and this is something that this is a theme that is going to kind of echo throughout the series. This idea of, your family, people you love, there's something of a liability that when you have people you love, you have people you can lose. And
yep,
John is saying, I, I can't do the things I need to do and worry about you. Um and let's just see what happens here. So again, we've got all the vampires together. They're worried about Kate. They're upset now. They've lost because so Kate came with another vampire, and they beheaded the Winchesters beheaded that guy. Um, so
yep,
the vampires realize, like from their perspective, the hunters are the monsters,
yep.
and
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 they
they
now know that Kate is in the truck, and
yep.
their friend is unfortunately no longer with them.
Fortunately for us, unfortunately for them.
Yeah,
I love this shot here of John in the truck and just the light from the rearview mirror reflected. I think that's great.
yeah,
So the vampires have left Bo behind.
yep. And Bo
Um,
is about to have a very bad night.
and I gotta say, I'm not terribly sad.
No,
Bo is
no,
having
no,
a bad
no,
night.
me neither. As much as of a fan I am of the actor, I hate vampires.
I know that you do. I do not share your hatred, but this guy I'm okay with seeing him go. So Dean beheads Bo, but Bo
Yeah.
has gone bye-bye. And it's so this John meanwhile it realizes so he's being chased by 2 carloads of the vampires.
Yep.
Dean is breaking the hostages out of their cages. He says, "I told you I'd be back," which we didn't hear him say, but that's something it's on brand for Dean to say that, so we're gonna let that go. And we've got this again. We get another look at this eye shine where the vampires are. They've gotten ahead of John. They're lined up, so he has to
Yeah.
stop the truck. And we've got this eye shine, and this is something that we're not going to see again. I have not come across this detail. My assumption is that it's too similar to the shifter eye shine, and that's why they ended up abandoning it. Um, but this is the only episode we see that in. So here's the part where John decides he's gonna trade Kate for the Colt. Now, they had said there's kind of a ticking clock on the the dead man's blood sickness for the vampires,
Yes.
that it only lasts a certain amount of time. Why they
Correct.
don't just dose her again, it's not in the script. Uh, so John starts saying, "You set the Colt down." Um, and as he goes to pick it up, apparently this blood sickness wears off, and Kate just clocks him.
I was
You
gonna
think
say things never go quite as you think.
nothing goes
Ever.
according to plan for the poor Winchesters. If it weren't for bad luck, they'd have none at all.
Yeah.
Kate clocks him. He honks himself into the front of the truck. Luther picks him up. So we've now, John is knocked out.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pause it here.
That and
Let's take
well, now would we say that he lost his weapon? Because technically he picked up the
well,
Colt.
I would not disagree with that. Let's see if either one of us had. Well, no, wait a second. What does the square say?
Hold on, I have
Is it one of the boys loses his weapon, or is
I
it
have
someone?
I don't have it, so it doesn't make any
Okay, I don't have it
difference.
either. So
Oh,
if
it
it's
doesn't.
one of the boys, Wizard Dave says it's one of the boys, and he's not one of the boys. So it doesn't, whether he's lost it or not, unfortunately, it doesn't count. But I'm a little grouchy because I don't have somebody gets knocked out either. So
Neither do I.
it's important to hydrate.
Cheers, my
Mm,
dear.
Here's the water. Oh, my Irish grandmother would be rolling over her grave if you tried to cheers with water.
Well, I was cheersing with wine, so
Mm. Well, in that case, no, my grandmother, and let me say this, God rest her soul. My grandmother was a wonderful human being. She enjoyed her highballs, and she used like if you talked about like drinking water, she would get this very disdainful look on her face. My beautiful Irish grandmother, she would say, "Water is for washing the dead," and she would get whiskey. Mm.
so yes,
Oh, that
I'm
was for you.
so yes, I went I Pat, I can't speak. I went straight for the wine.
And that is the right choice.
Yeah, which I have
But
very, very little of.
okay, I'm hitting play, hitting play. There we go. And
You're
right, so
trying to
John's
hit
knocked out.
play.
And for the first time in his life, Dean has disobeyed a direct order. And here come the boys to the rescue.
Yay!
Luther grabs Sam and he says, "So, ooh, is this a choke?"
I would say yes to that. I
I
mean,
okay, we're gonna call that a choke.
he's
Uh,
got him in a neck thing, and it looks like he's having trouble breathing. So I legitimately
I say we call that a choke. Before we check our cards, so John has now shot Luther in the forehead, and keeping in mind that like a typical gun, which we heard at the beginning of the episode from Kate, like a regular bullet does jack shit to vampires. But we've got this kind of lengthy sequence where like this is not a fast death for Mr. Luther. That it does work. And I love this. We've got this close up of John as he realizes he's got what he needs to be able to kill things that are supposed to be unkillable. And we just get this little smile from John. And I love that
Oh,
this,
look at the look on Dean's face, though.
oh
He
boy,
may be
yeah, I'm
smirking,
pausing.
but Dean is not.
Dean, yes, well spotted, well spotted that, we've got this little smile from John, like finally, 2 decades of searching, I have something. And yet Dean is not happy.
No,
Um,
Dean's pissed.
it, there's something going on with Dean. I agree. You know what? I hang on. I just want to I just want to get, let me see if we can get a better look here. Because,
And
yeah,
Sam's not happy
so
either. Let me,
Sam, I think looking at their faces, I personally would identify their expressions as worried. Now, I think this is open to interpretation, so you don't have to agree with me. But yeah, there is definitely something other than excitement or happiness. Like John is happy and the boys are not. So let us know in the comments what you think Sam and Dean are experiencing here.
yeah,
Um,
because I can't disagree with you on that. Like, I'll he's definitely feeling an emotion that is the opposite of his father.
yeah, I agree. Like there's something going on with the boys here.
Yeah.
Okay, so while it's paused, we are looking for a Sam gets choked. And I don't recall one of those being, oh no, I have one of the boys gets choked. I'm doing better than I thought I was going to do on this one.
I do not.
Oh, well, join me in a toast.
I can do that. Let's see, there's one square I thought I was gonna get, but apparently my memory is off on
What
this
is it?
one.
What is it?
I could have sworn there was a heartfelt bro moment in this episode, but
Oh, well,
I could be
let's
wrong on that.
see. We
Yeah,
still
no,
have
I could be wrong.
we still have almost 2 minutes left in the episode, so let's see. Hang on, there's a little bit left in the bottom.
Yeah.
I belong to the clean shot class club.
I say that's alcohol abuse.
Okay, so we're hitting play, and we've got the black screen. So here we are. So Luther is dead. The brothers are packing up. Here comes John,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got this kind of last moment. So the boys talk at the same time. We've got a yes sir. Again, we've got John saying like you disobeyed a direct order, and Dean says, "Yeah, we saved your ass." And John is like, "What? Who are you, and what have you done with Dean?" Like this is something that Sam is not accustomed to seeing his brother challenge John. And so the episode ends here with John agreeing that they're going to go after this together. And we've got this like close up of each of the boys, and they're like, fuck yeah. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, and
I
that,
love the grins. It's like we finally won,
yeah,
Dad.
here we are. Because remember, going back to the pilot, um, Dean showed up at Sam's house. Yes, the alcohol is making it difficult for me to remember their names. Dean showed up at Sam's house,
That's supposed
and
to be me who can't remember characters' names, not you.
yeah, yeah, it's the vodka's fault, and I shall blame it all on the vodka.
It sounds
Um,
like a plan.
But it's a good plan. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But if we go all the way back to the pilot, I mean, this is what Dean said when he showed up at Sam's house. His dad's gone on a hunting trip, and he hasn't been home in a few days.
Hmm.
So like they started the series, they started the season with two goals. Well, they really started with one goal: is find dad, and so now they found dad back in Shadow,
Yep,
but they immediately had to split up. So here's the point where like the family is back together. This is everything that Dean wanted.
yep,
And so Dean finally has what he wants, but John doesn't have what John wants. John wants the thing that killed Mary. Sam wants the thing that killed Jess. So
yes,
Dean finally has what he wants, but the other two Winchesters do not.
yep,
So okay, we have one final check of our cards for the boys talk at the same time.
and I
And
do not have that.
yeah, I do not either. And honestly, I'm looking at it, and someone pours a salt line does not buy me anything. Does it buy
As
you
a,
anything?
and for me, don't get me wrong, I am not opposed to completely cheating, but I save my cheats for special times, and this one doesn't really get me anywhere.
Yeah, what good is cheating if it doesn't get you across the finish line? So, okay,
Yeah,
we're gonna stick with our decision that
yeah.
is not hauling a sort line, pouring a salt line.
Yeah.
Okay, Lynn, so what do you have? The most I have in a row is two.
I have three, and in total, I have three, six, eight.
Okay, so okay, so I think you have won, or you have lost by the least, because the most I have in a row is two. And oh, I'm sorry, Wizard Dave, what do you see?
You have three.
Wizard Dave is correct. I have three in a row. I did not notice the diagonal. I wonder why not. But I believe I have a total of seven, four, five, six, I do. So Lynn, you have lost by the least, and I am going to toast your smallest gap to victory.
That works for me. And I've got a tiny bit left, so
Mm,
mm,
there we are.
I am now
Hopefully,
empty.
if you are playing along with us, which, by the way, if you happen to get five in a row, if you send us a screenshot of your five in a row, let us know what episode it's from. You can send that to hunterfuelpodcast@gmail.com. Um, we would love to send you some stickers. If we can, you've got to tell us where to send them though.
Mm-hmm. Minor detail.
It's in small detail. Okay, so Lynn, one thing you loved and one thing you hated.
Oh Lord.
This is a good episode, I think.
This is a good one. There
I
were a
like this one.
couple of times when I thought they where we were now I'm forgetting how to speak English. Um,
English am our first language.
yes. Yeah, actually I would arguably say sarcasm is my first language, but
Sarcasm am my first language.
there were a couple of times we really had to stretch the truth. And I shouldn't say stretch the truth, but stretch what they were doing on screen.
Suspend disbelief. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Again, English are my first language.
We got there. I
Yeah.
speak Lynn.
Yes, yeah, you've had just a wee bit of
I've had
practice.
a smidge of
Um,
practice.
yeah. So that was I'm aware to the script. I know they have to use it to get from point A to point B. It still at times drives me crazy because I'm like, you're such a talented bunch of writers. Do
Yeah.
we really have to
Most of
go?
them.
Um, Something I loved. Oh my god, where do I? It's all right.
Whoa, all of it.
I was gonna say if I have to choose one,
Pick
I
one.
loved. I'm gonna go for the cheese because let's be honest, I am. Um,
Okay.
how,
Cheesy.
the relationships
Yeah.
between the boys and their dad and how it kind of does a 180 in one
Yeah.
episode.
I agree.
I love that. I absolutely
Yeah,
love
and absolutely. And that's the thing that I love too, is the way that Sam and Dean are aligned against John,
it.
that 180. That so, and I love that Dean is actually challenging John's authority, that he's,
Yeah,
and keeping in mind that Dean is 28 at this point. Although this is something I'm going to talk about later in this series, that Dean's chronological age does not line up with his maturity. Like Dean is only 28 on the outside. He's not 28 on the inside.
yeah,
But we see him, defying direct orders. He calls John out on his bullshit, and uh, again, just to recap things I've said already, like all season long, Sam has always been the odd man out, and now after nearly a year on the road, John is the odd man out, and Dean or Sam is not the outsider anymore.
yeah,
For me, the thing that I hated is the scene between Kate and Dean when Dean is out acting like bait to try to lure the vampires
yeah.
in. It sort of doesn't make sense, which I
No,
think is
it
also
doesn't.
the thing that you hated, that you have to suspend disbelief kind of a lot in this episode.
Yeah,
That it's this weird situation where John says that once vampires get your scent, it's for life. So she knows Dean is a hunter. Dean knows she's a vampire. Um, and yet they still kind of play through this scene
yeah,
where like he's pretending to be just a stranded motorist. So it's doesn't it
it
kind
doesn't
of
make
doesn't
sense.
it's they're playing this kind of odd game where they both know who the other one is, but they're pretending they don't. And it just feels a little convenient for the script that it's one of those things where like if you start trying to straighten the slinky, it doesn't work. You know.
Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts?
No, no, I think we pretty much covered
I think we
everything
covered it.
through the
Well,
actual through the episode and all of
but
that. So
but you know what? I had just a tiny bit left, so I am gonna finish off my drink here.
awesome. Awesome. So and I have to say I don't I'm and I'm sure you've been watching the comments on some of the ideas we've gotten for the topic jar. I've been
We do.
loving those. We've
I
gotten some.
am as well. I am as well. Definitely keep those coming.
Yes, please, please. I mean,
Yeah,
we have not had an opportunity to choose one yet, so keep those ideas rolling in so that
yep.
we can make some final determinations, please.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well said. So with that, that is last call. Thanks so much for coming along with us for the ride. If you like what we're doing here, be sure to tell your friends. Please, 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 with an L. Please also like our videos, subscribe so it's easier for other people to find us too. And we love hearing from our SPN family. So please comment on our videos. And you are always welcome to send us an email at hunterfuelpodcast@gmail.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hunter Fuel Podcast. In our next episode, we will be watching season 1, episode 21, Salvation, when it's open season on the Friends of the Winchesters. Until then, be safe, everybody. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.